So this is the map of Arabic grammar that I have prepared for you, which we are going to cover bulk of it in the 15 lessons that are proposed in book 1 of Language of Quran Easier Than English. Inshallah ta'ala, I'm going to go through all of this in the lessons coming, but here in this session, I'm going to give you a brief overview. In summary, Arabic only has 3 types of words. 3 types of words. These words are put together to form meaningful constructs, sentences, and phrases. And Arabic only has 2 types of sentences. Of course, the phrases can be categorized in many different ways, but these 5 are the most essential for you or most commonly used types of phrases in the Quran. So 2 types of sentences, 5 types of phrases, and only 3 types of words. And that is the structure of the language that we are, inshallah, making intention to begin to learn so we can appreciate the Quran in Arabic. What will surprise anyone who begins to study Arabic is that it is the most structured language you will ever come across. It is incredibly logical, well structured, and governed by rational rules. Rules are very easy to pick up through practice, not through memorization. And it has, as I mentioned, only 3 types of words and 2 types of sentences. What is even more amazing with the Arabic language, and this is similar with other semantic languages, is that most of the words in Arabic are derived from 3 root letters. Almost 99+% of the words you're going to come across are all derived from 3 root letters. And it's understanding how the derivation works from the standard of the 3 root letters, inshallah ta'ala, will give you a huge yield in your understanding of Arabic words. So in Arabic, really, the wrong way to approach it is to get a long list of words and try to memorize hundreds and hundreds of words. It is far easier for you to learn the basic rules of how the words are formed, how the root has additions put onto it in terms of vowels as well as letters, to combine together to form new scales of words and what these scales give additional meanings of. So this is inshallah ta'ala what we are going to be covering. In book 1, we're going to look at the basic structures. In book 2, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to look at verbs, and we're going to look at in detail how the derivation from the 3 root letters into verbs and many common nouns occur in Arabic. So let's begin at the foundation. We're going to take an overview of the Arabic letters. The Arabic, like all other languages, will have alphabet, and these will then be joined together to form words, and then will come together to form sentences or phrases. So we're going to look at an overview of the Arabic alphabet. In this course, we assume, of course, that you know how to read Arabic already, and I put on the screen for you the English alphabet. Don't worry, I'm not going to go through the alphabet. I'm sure you know this already better than me. What is important of the 26 letters of the English alphabet, we need to note that there are 2 types of letters in the English alphabet. We have 5 of them which are vowels, and I've highlighted them in red for you. A, E, I, O, and U. They're vowels, vowel letters. The others are actually consonant letters. Now, 21 consonants and 5 vowels in the English alphabet. And what is important, and I'm sure you know, that you can't actually make words without vowels and consonants combining together. For example, I've got 2 letters here, P and T. There's no way I can actually pronounce or make words from just 2 consonants or 3 or 4 or 5. I will need to apply some vowel sounds. So here I have P, T. They don't make any words, but if I put the letter A in between, I have pat, as in pat somebody in the back. If I put P-E-T, I end up with pet, as in my pet cat or something like that. If I put P-I-T, pit, okay, pit of fire. P-O-T, pot of rice. P-U-T, put it down. Now you can see here, by using consonants and vowels, I'm able to produce words. And of course, the word number can be hundreds and thousands, but I need to combine the 2, not only in writing, but also in reading. What is important about the Arabic alphabet does not have any vowels. They're all consonant sounds. So all of these, which are already, I'm sure you're familiar with, are all consonants. Now the word letters waw and ya are used for long vowels. They themselves are not vowel sounds, but they're used for long vowels. Apart from that, they're all consonants and are used as consonants. If you look at this list, you will see I have ordered it slightly differently than when we were children. We learned, or when we first learned to read Arabic, the alphabet ordering is slightly different. For example, you'll see at the end, Lam, Mim, Noon, Waw, Ha, Hamza, Ya. Now I put Hamza actually not on the list there, but Hamza, according to the dictionary, is the first letter of the Arabic alphabet, not at the end. And there's a reason for that. I'll explain it very briefly, inshallah. And Waw and Ya are the last two letters. Waw and Ya are also called weak letters in Arabic, along with Alif. And that's going to play a big role in your study of Arabic, inshallah. From lesson 16 onwards, we will see how weak letters change and form into different words, inshallah. But for now, but just to make a note, they're all consonants. Alif, Waw, and Ya are used as long vowels, but there is no vowel letters in the Arabic alphabet. And according to some scholars of Arabic, Hamza and Alif are the same thing. They don't count them separately. Those that count it separately count 29 letters. Those that don't count Alif and Hamza separately count 28. And there is a reason for this. Mainly, there is a big difference between Alif and the other letters. Please note the following point about Alif, and this will come play a very important role in your studies. First of all, note that Alif cannot be the first letter of a word. If you ever see a word in Arabic that looks like has an Alif as the first letter, please note it is not Alif. Alif cannot be the first letter of a word. It can come in the middle. Depends on what letter is attached to it. It'll be written like so, or it can come in the end, where it can be written like so, or like this, or even as a dotless Ya, Ya without dots. So these are all different types of Alif that are written, but never at the beginning of a word. So Alif is not the first letter of any word in the Arabic language. Second, it does not take a vowel sign. Please note. So if you see Dhamma, Fatha, Kasra, Sukun on an Alif, it is not Alif. It is something else. So please note that. Very important. Alif does not take a haraka. It is used as a long vowel, as I've already mentioned. So kitabun. So you have kitabun. So elongation, kitabun. Okay, it's used for elongation. It is also used as a chair for Hamza. So for example, here you see it as the first letter of a word. It is not Alif, it is actually Hamza. So you read this as akbaru. Akbaru meaning bigger or greater. So it's a chair for Hamza. So Alif cannot be, or Alif is not a standard letter of the Arabic alphabet, and as a result, many scholars do not count it as a letter of the alphabet. As for Hamza, Hamza is like any other letter of the alphabet, except it has slightly different writing rules. Number one, Hamza can come at the beginning, middle, or the end of a word. So it can come as any other letter of the alphabet. So it's a consonant, like all the others. But it is written 4 different ways, please note. Whenever it is written as the first letter of a word, it will always be written on a Alif. So this is A, U, I. Okay, and in some script, the Hamza is written, in others it is not. So you're required to assume that you know this rule, that at the beginning of a word, Alif is actually Hamza. And if it has a vowel sign, you read it as A, U, or I. There's also another Hamza, which is called Hamzatul Wasl. So there are 2 types of Hamza. Hamzatul Wasl only comes at the beginning of a word, please note. And in the Quranic symbol, you see this Sad-like symbol. So Hamza at the beginning will be always written on an Alif. Hamza in the middle of a word can be written by itself, on an Alif, on a Waw, or a Ya. Hamza at the end of a word can also be written by itself, on an Alif, or a Waw, or a Ya. There are some complex writing rules regarding Hamza. Inshallah, I'll cover them in more advanced lessons. For now, just note this point, that Hamza can be written 4 different ways. So there are 2 types of Hamza in Arabic. One is called Hamzatul Wasl, the other is called Hamzatul Qat'. Now Hamzatul Wasl only appears at the beginning of a word. You will never see it in the middle or the end. So this is the symbol again, which you'll see in some Quranic script, which is like a sword-like symbol written at the top of an Alif. So this is Hamzatul Wasl. And again, you will see it most commonly in the definite article, which is The in Arabic, the. So which is al. The first part of it is Hamzatul Wasl. And it can be seen on some isms, nouns, and these are the most likely examples that you're likely to come across in your Arabic study. Ithnani, imra'atun, ibnatun, ibnun, ismun, ismun. Okay, these are the most common nouns that you will come across. There's only a few nouns that in the entire language that has hamzatul wasl at the beginning. There are a few scales of verbs that also has it. And for example, this one we read as unsur, and then we have istaghfir. So again, some scales of verbs will have it. Inshallah, we'll study them in book 2. So hamzatul wasl will appear throughout your studies almost 8,000 times as al in the Quran. I think it's about 8,800 times. So it's very important that you know this. Alhamdulillah, those of you familiar with Quran reading, this is one of the rules that is taught during reading. The most important thing to remember is hamzatul wasl is only read if speech begins with it. So for example, here, if I'm starting my speech and the first thing I'm going to read is this, I will read this as al-kitabu, al-kitabu, al-kitabu. If I'm reading this one, I will read it as ij'al, ij'al. And if I'm reading this, I will read it as unsur, unsur. Now, why u and e sound? Which one should I apply? The rule is very simple. Whenever you see the definite article al in Arabic, it is always read the hamzatul wasl as with a fatha or a zabar. Al-kitabu, al-kitabu. Otherwise, you will always read it with the e. The default is e. So it will be ij'al, ij'al. But if the third letter on the scales of verbs, we have the third letter, which is the first here. The second is always sukun. But the third letter, this one, has a dhamma or a pesh. You'll read it with a u sound. So unsur, unsur. So these are the basic rules of reading. Most of you are familiar with, but I do need to go through them because these are basic things that I'm not going to go through repeat during the lesson, but these things that we should know. One more additional important thing about hamzatul wasl is that if something is written before it and you're going to read that part, you do not read the hamzatul wasl. So here we have wal kitabu. I'm not reading the hamzatul wasl anymore. Waj'al, I'm not reading the hamzatul wasl anymore. Wansur. So you can see the sound going straight from here to there, and we're not even reading it, we're ignoring it. And this is what happens in Arabic. The hamzatul wasl is only read at the beginning of a speech. If it comes after, it will not be read. So please note that, inshallah ta'ala, you're going to come across it many times. So hamzatul wasl is only read. In some occasions, the hamzatul wasl is also not written. I will go through them during the lessons, inshallah, as we come across them. Otherwise, you will always write the hamzatul wasl, but only read it when it is the beginning of a speech. Hamzatul qat is the other one, the standard one, which is at the beginning, middle, at the end of a word. It can be any different ways, and of course, it can be written by itself on an alif or a waw or a ya. So you can see it here written by itself as an examples here. Just note them down for now. You don't really need to worry. You just need to be aware that the hamza can be written 4 different ways, and the spelling rule for hamza is quite complex, and there's no need to introduce it at this stage because our purpose is to learn Quran, inshallah, and once we've gone to intermediate level, we can look at that rule. But important thing to note about the hamza in general, it is always written, always pronounced. So here, Qul huwallahu ahad, the a will always be read, whether it's at the beginning of a speech, middle of a speech, it doesn't matter. And then wa'idh, again, the idh is always read. E sound is always read. Wa'idh qala rabbuka, and when your Lord said. So these are the few points about the hamza, normal hamza, which is read and written throughout. Hamzatul wasl has its own peculiar rules. The Arabic alphabet is divided into 2 groups. One group is called Qamari and the other is called Shamsi. There are 14 each, exactly divided into 2. And basically, all we need to know is when it comes to reading with al, and please note this is only reading with al, there is a special set of rules. In Qamari letters, we read this very clearly. The lam is pronounced. We say al qamaru, al qamaru. Or for example, if you use another letter, al hajju or al baytu. Al is pronounced very clearly. Whichever one of these letters comes after the al, it is always read clearly. But if it's one of these 14 letters, for example, we have here, we read this one straight there, ash-shamsu. We do not pronounce the lam. Okay, we do not pronounce this lam. We go straight there, and these are called shamsi letters. And again, ta, tha, dal, dal, and so on. The good news for you, in the Quranic script, of course, you don't even have to worry about it. You'll see a shadda here straight after the al, and this indicates to you that you have to read it as a shamsi letter, so you ignore the lam in reading. Of course, in modern standard Arabic, this is not written. They assume that you know this rule. So please note that sometimes you'll see a shadda after al, and sometimes you will not. And this is the reason for that. And again, these are basic reading rules, which I'm hoping that you're already familiar with. This is just a reminder of what they are about the Arabic alphabet. On the other hand, if we have something before that we want to read, so for example, here we have wa, we want to read this together, we say wal, exactly the same as the rule I mentioned before, wal qamaru, and then here again, if the wa comes, you will see here we go straight there, washamsu. So here we are ignoring the lam and the hamzatul wasl in reading. Here we are ignoring the hamzatul wasl in reading, and these are the shamsi and qamari letter rules. Now, why all of this is important? You and I need to be able to read Arabic in order to learn the language. One thing important to note, that Arabic language, normally when it comes to Arabic speakers, they will not write vowel signs on the letter, consonants. And those who are fluent in the language, they've studied it for years, can read text without vowel sounds being applied. So for example, these are 3 letters of Arabic, kaf, ta, and ba. I've taken this word from the Quran, ayah number 183 in Surah Al-Baqarah. Now, for us to read it is impossible. Even if we have the context, we non-Arabic speakers cannot read this because we do not know which vowel sounds to apply. Now, in the Quran, you will see this is written like so, kutiba, meaning written down or prescribed. Now we can read it because we got vowel sounds. And this is where a lot of us struggle when it comes to learning Arabic. Most of the books are without vowels, and it's impossible to read. It's impossible to do self-study without vowels being there. And that is why almost always when people pick up books to do self-study, they fail because the vowel sounds are not there and you don't even know how to pronounce the words. So in order to facilitate the pronunciation of the word, Arabic has what's called harakat, and these are vowels that go above and below the letters. Please note, without these, we cannot read Arabic words. So they are very, very important. And alhamdulillah, as far as Quranic study is concerned, everything's clearly marked, so we can read it without making any mistakes. So these are the vowels. Now, the vowels in Arabic are fatha, which is the first one we're looking at. Fatha is a line that goes above the letter that you want to apply the vowel sound to, and it provides a sound like a ah, so above. So al-muslimata, al-muslimata. So you can see the vowel fatha gives a a sound equivalent to the a in the English language. Then we have the second, which is dhamma. Now dhamma gives a rounding sound, So if, for example, you end up with a u sound. So we have here al-muslimatu, al-muslimatu, and this is the dhamma written above a letter, above the letter, and it gives us the u sound. Then we have the one kasra, which is written underneath the word letter. So you have kasra, which gives us a e or an I sound if, and we see it here, al-muslimati, al-muslimati. So we have the 3 vowels in Arabic, a, u, and e. This is the only 3 vowels in the Arabic language. So fatha, dhamma, kasra. Those of you are from the Indian subcontinent, you call this one zabar, pesh, and zer. The Arabic names for them is fatha, dhamma, kasra. You can use whichever one you're familiar with, but these are the proper Arabic names for them. And lastly, we have sukun. Sukun actually is not a vowel sound. What it is actually the absence of a vowel sound. So when you see sukun, it means there's no vowel being applied to that letter. So you have here example we should all be familiar with, Bismillah. So bis, the sin now does not have any vowel being applied. It's not sa, su, or si. It's bis, Bismillahi. So again, you can see the sukun. Now, sukun is written many different ways, but in the Quranic script, you'll see it either as a squeezed C, looking like that on the top of a letter, or it will be written as a circle. Both of these are commonly used. Again, depends on the script that you're reading. And sometimes on the screen it's difficult to write. I'm going to write it like so, as an inverted V, so it doesn't get confused with the Dhamma when I'm writing. But generally speaking, this is how the sukoon written. So we get the Arabic letters, we apply the vowels, now we can read them. And this is the important role that the harakat play. Please note, they're going to play a very important role again in our studies, so I'm sure you are familiar with them already. Long vowels. Now we have the others we've seen: Fatha, Zabar, Dhamma, Pesh, Kasra, Zer. They apply short vowel sounds. For example, A, U, E. Very short. But we have also commonly used in Arabic long vowels. So in order to produce the longer version of A, we put an Fatha followed by Alif. Please note this: Fatha followed by Alif. So Fatha first, the last letter will have Fatha before it, and it will be followed by an Alif. So for example, we've seen this example already. Kitabun, Kitabun. So this A bit is elongating the A sound. So it's not Kitab, Kitab, Kitabun. Okay, and then we have the second one, which is the Dhamma. Again, please notice the Dhamma followed by a Waw. Not Dhamma on its own, followed by a Waw. So for example, here we have Muslimuna. So these two in combination elongate the sound. It's not Muslimuna, Muslimuna, Muslimuna. And we have the last vowel, long vowel, with a kasra followed by a ya. So ya before it, a kasra, you elongate the sound. So you have Karimun, which means noble, Karimun. So you can see here, kasra followed by the ya. So 3 short vowels, 3 long vowels, which are a combination of letters preceded by a vowel sign. Along with the short and the long vowels, there are other markings that are very, very important for Quranic Arabic reading. One of them, of course, is tanween. Now, tanween is basically, in terms of writing, we have a doubling of the vowel mark, dhamma. So it is un. So the first tanween is un, written with the double dhamma, and gives the sound of un. So for example, we have muslimatun, muslimatun, by doubling of the dhamma here. And this is one of the tanween. And of course, it is as if we are reading a noon sakin at the end. Noon with a sukoon, muslimatun. So tanween with double dhamma. Then we have the tanween with 2 fathas. And again, the sound it produces is an. So we have muslimatan. And you can see it is as if there is a noon with sukoon at the end, which is read muslimatan. And then we have the double kasra at the end, which gives us the sound of in, muslimatin, muslimatin, and again with a noon with a sukoon at the end. So tanween produces a sound with an N sound at the end, and that sound is called, or this called, nanation in the English grammar books. So you'll see it, N sound, nanation, and this is tanween. Very, very important symbol. We're going to come across it again and again in our studies. So again, from your Quran reading, you'll be familiar with the tanween. Very important. We have short vowels, we have long vowels, we have tanween, which produces un, an, in sound. Further to the vowels and tanween, we also have other symbols. For example, the shadda. Shadda is written above the letter, and it really is representing the doubling of the letter. So we have the first letter, which has sukoon, the second letter, which has the vowel sign. It could be fatha, dhamma, or kasra. For example, here we have darrasa, darrasa, darrasa. So instead of writing the ra twice, in Arabic they use the shadda, and you put the vowel on top. So for example, you could have al-hajju, al-hajja, al-hajji, with the jim, taking the dhamma, fatha, or kasra, zer, zabar, pesh, whichever it is, but it is doubling of the letter. So first with sukoon, the second with the vowel that you are applying. So this is shadda, very, very commonly used. Please make a note of this one also. And then we also have Hamzatul Wasl symbol, which we've already mentioned. Hamzatul Wasl only appearing at the beginning of a word, and in Quranic script, you will see it with sword-like symbol on the top. The madda is again another symbol which is very commonly used in the Quran, and you can see it as an example there. And it is really another way of writing Hamza with an alif afterwards, which indicates the elongation of the sound. So you read this as Al-Qur'anu, and the same here, Al-Qur'anu. Again, you can see the two different ways of writing the same thing, but the impact is that it's an elongation of the sound. And then we have what looks like an alif. It's called khara zabar in the Indian subcontinent, and it also has the in Arabic a name, alif khinjariya or dagar alif. It is often referred to. It is very commonly used in the Quran. It is not used in modern standard Arabic, but mainly in the Quranic script. So it is the same as writing here, for example, meme with a fatha followed by an alif, or you put the meme with the fatha just a dagar alif afterwards. The pronunciation is exactly the same, Malik or Malikun. If you're reading this, Malikun, and again, very commonly used. And of course, you'll have it in the Quran, the first line, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahman, the alif here to indicate the elongation of the sound. So again, very commonly used markings in the Quran. So the Arabic alphabet only has consonants, and we need these markings above, below the letters to know how to pronounce the words correctly, how to read it correctly. The purpose behind sharing this with you, I'm sure you should be familiar with reading Arabic, but these are few points that are not always emphasized when we learn to read Arabic for the first time. But in the learning of the language, these symbols will become important, because you will see, alif followed by before it a fatha and so on, and the words will change. You need to make a note of these. So as long as you're familiar with these diacritic marks that go above and below the letters, and that you are able to read the Arabic letters, inshallah ta'ala, you can follow the 15 lessons that are going to follow in this playlist. Please follow them one after the other in sequence, and inshallah ta'ala, that's the only prerequisite. And I wanted to introduce that to you so you're familiar with what's required, as I will not be explaining Hamzatul Wasl repeatedly in the course as we come through it. We will be mentioning the most important points, or any of the other symbols. We'll not go through, just simply write it. And I'm going to assume that you are already familiar with this.